or economic economic viability of a project. And you see needs assessment, both needs assessment and then economic viability are wanting because they are lacking community participation. Because in needs assessment, we have seen about this, you evaluate and find normative needs. Normative needs are the needs that you get as an outsider, but you don't know the real need until you get the needs being told to you by the members of the community. So community engagement begins before the project is even implemented, okay? Then once you've started implementing the project, there is within project implementation, that in project implementation evaluation, that you are evaluating on a continuous basis. That is what's known as continuous quality improvement, where you are checking every single day. Yeah, and it's called plan, do, check, act, PDCA. Deming cycle: plan, do, check, act. This means you plan the things you want to do, you do them, that's meaning you implement them, you check how they are doing, and then from what you get, you act upon what you find. It's called PDCA, or the Deming cycle. And you have to do that on a continuous basis, not every once a year, not even every 6 months, not even every quarter. Most preferably on monthly basis, but even indeed on a weekly basis. Now, today we have technology that can help you do the monitoring on a daily basis, every single day. And you're going to see how you get it. You get to get data on a daily basis, because evaluation means looking at data, or what's called statistical process control. So it means that you are receiving data on a continuous basis. So that means that if you're going to be receiving data on a continuous basis in one place, where you're looking at that data to see what is going on, you call that what? A dashboard. So there's a data dashboard. And for all those of you Gen Zs who are engaging in data analytics, you know what I mean. This is what's called data analytics today. In other words, is evaluating on a continuous basis, making sure that you're not missing anything on a daily basis. Okay. Then there's something called post-implementation evaluation. The post-implementation evaluation is where you measure the impacts. Because after you've implemented, the project's been going on for maybe a few years, you come back and check what has been happening with that project. Okay, so that is, you could say that is the high level, like what is evaluation? And we have said evaluation is the same as continuous quality improvement, and it's the same as checking back. And we have said it has got 3 stages. We have said there's pre-implementation evaluation, where you find out whether what you need to do is really needed. Number 2 is implementation evaluation within the project evaluation, when the project is going on, where you keep checking whether what you said you will be doing is what you're doing. And then there's post-implementation evaluation. And so what Maggie has told us is the metrics. Metrics means the measurements or the data points. What data do you gather? I know we discussed in another faucet recently, is that you want to gather data that has got meaning for the community in which you serve. The data that's got meaning, it means that it's not just counting the number of people who have been reached by the product you are implementing. Maybe say you're saying you're distributing vaccines, or maybe you are you're building health centers or clinics or maternity wards. It's not just the numbers, but saying, oh, we have got about 14 million of those centers. That doesn't mean anything if those centers are not helping to do something else. What are those other things? 1, improve the quality of life. Okay, save their lives. So reduce the death of women who become pregnant. That means reduce maternal mortality. You could say that's a data point, but a woman is not a point data. But she should not die. No woman should die because she got pregnant. So you're saying eradicating maternal mortality. Then you can measure how many women have we Instead of measuring the negative, which means reducing, we can say how many women delivered baby to term, how many women took the baby to term all the way, all the 9 years, the 9 months. How many women are able to complete 9 months this year? So that is a positive metric. I think instead of the maternal mortality, I would recommend that we measure the maternal life, because measuring the death of women is after the fact. Okay? The same thing, how many of those women who delivered, who brought babies to term were able to deliver live babies? That means live deliveries. They can get live newborns. And the woman is alive also, that will go through labor and delivery and come out alive, both the mother and the baby. That's a good metric. And then after that is the survival of the baby for the first year of life. So the first day of life. So you could say the first day survival. So I'm thinking that this type of metrics, we want to flip them and put them on the positive side of life. Instead of measuring the loss, we measure the survival. How many of those babies are surviving the first day of life? And then how many of those babies are surviving the first year of life? And then you can see those are positive measures of effectiveness. Okay. And so you can see these metrics. Then we want that data to be streaming onto a dashboard. Okay. And this dashboard you're going to be building over the next 1 year. In the 2025, we shall build a dashboard that's collecting all this data. And then, and with the help of data analytics, you see someone like Augustine has been studying data analytics over there. Is it not true, Augustine? People like that. And they're teaching data analytics at several places like KU, ICT Center, with IBM. So this is what it's all about. So you want to understand how to gather that data, you put it in a dashboard, and that's what we want to do ourselves. So when that data is streaming through, you can just check onto the dashboard and see how are we doing in terms of survival of mothers, women. How are we doing in terms of survival through delivery? How are we doing in terms of survival of babies for over the first 24 years of life, 24 hours of life, and so on and so forth. So you can see that is something that we want to build in terms of the metrics, and see how it works very well, because it gives us robust amount of data. And this is just about the health of the woman herself and the baby. But then what he told us that we need to look at mental health during that whole process. The mental health itself. So we must collect mental health data, also feed it into the dashboard. But who is doing all this work? We are going to see that. Then, of course, health education. How many of the women are receiving education, positive education, to help them, learn a good life, even nutrition education? But that even education is not enough. Is how many people are putting that education into practice? See, so this means that we are going to have community health workers, community economic development workers working with women in communities, so they can teach them about these things. So education, like maternal education, very, very important to make sure they fully comprehend. These projects used to be there a long time ago, but somehow the politicians ate all the money, even for the maternal health and child education. It became tedious. Yeah, and some of those projects, I mean, the funding left because it didn't go anywhere. It actually went to the pockets of some people. Some of those people who call themselves leaders. And instead of them funding the projects that needs to be funded, they spend a lot of time talking about projects that they're not funding. Yeah, it's really crazy out there in politics. Okay, so education for women, very important. And also, you see, when we have a dashboard, then you can see how far the education outreach is going. And who enters that data in the dashboard? Because today we have the technology for feeding data, collecting data from everyone. That is a cell phone. This data will be coming to the dashboard through the cell phone. So the cell phone becomes this sensory receptor. It's a sensory receptor. For you all know about sensory receptors like eyes, and the ears and the nose. They have receptor organs inside there which capture the sensation. So data that is out there in the community is in sensory formats. So that the sensory receptor is the cell phone, the smartphone, because you can use a smartphone that is in the hands of every single family to enter data into the system so that we can have this continuous quality improvement on a daily basis, non-stop. That's why I said it's not a monthly thing. It's not something you do once a year. It's not something you do once every 6 months. It's something you do every single day. Because when there's a dashboard, the dashboard is going to be printing that data and displaying it on a continuous basis. This is aggregate data because the data is aggregated. So we can see how we are doing in terms of human survival. And that is going to be possible to build. It's quite easy because for all of you, if you know about all the other places about data, that is live streaming data, you know, you have checked something, like for example, in CoinGecko. So before the data goes to CoinGecko to see the performance of the market, it's called market data. It is first of all goes into Etherscan. Etherscan. So Etherscan is this blockchain explorer that gathers the data from everywhere out there. And as we had in one of the presentations in here in I think it was one of the Saturdays, the technology that collects that data is called oracles. So they're oracles that are gathering data from the communities. And those oracles gather data and then they can stream them through a dashboard such as CoinGecko, and all of you can see the data gets displayed. If we can display financial data like that, then we must be able to display the health data. And I think even today, such data is available because that data analytics is not just for people in finance and in business, it's also available to people in healthcare. But we are not using it effectively. Why? Because we just don't like to use things effectively so that we can complain and complain. No, the time for complaining is over. We use our data analytics. These data analytics are everywhere. Even if you go to Facebook, you can actually ask Facebook to show you the analytics of your followers. If you can do that for your own followers, yeah, even if you make a post on Facebook, Facebook could give you analytics of that post. Even this video, we're doing live streaming, you can get the analytics of this video because today, we are able to manage something called big data. And that has become possible because we have the ability to capture the data, what Rotic has called metrics, and then we bring that online. It doesn't have to be physical, but aggregate data, which is stripped of the personalized health information. So we do not want to share the personal health information, but we can measure, we can display survival outcomes, daily survival rates for mothers, for babies, for infants, and like that. Even for education, we are able to start to measure those things. And why is it important for people to see that? I'm going to come back. This one, you get community participation. As Rotik has told us, is that for these things to work, you want to have one, community engagement. So you cannot engage the community if the community cannot see what is going on. That has been the biggest problem with healthcare implementations. because community comes after the fact. Even the community does not come in. Community or people themselves for whom we want to do the project, they do not feature in the design of the project. So those type of projects, all of them are people absent. So people are secondary things. That the humans are absent, and such projects are said to be inhuman. And that inhuman nature is the one that has created this thing we call the global health meta crisis. Because when we are designing the global health programs, we do not engage the communities that they themselves need those services. So community engagement now becomes possible today through the cell phone, because every individual in the community or every family in the community has got a cell phone. So there's no excuse of why we are not reaching people and getting to know what they're doing. There's no excuse of why we do not have survival data of families, because we have what? We have got what? The cell phones. You see, that was becoming very difficult because people say, how do you finance that? How do you find who produces the money? And you have seen, before even we go to the money question, that example in Rwanda about integrated system. This is Kagame himself in his full glory. No guy, without guy. Kagame is real guy. He knows how to do these things. But of course, people have been trying to remove him, telling him that, okay, in a democracy, you have to give up your ruling somebody else. And Kagame told them, keep your nonsense to yourselves. And I think he was right. Okay, I support what Kagame is doing because Kagame has got it. Kagame's projects have got humans inside them. They are not inhuman. They have humanity inside them. Number one, what Kagame we have had over there in Rwanda, what they are doing is called integrated system. Integrated system, it means that you don't have a health service just particular on its own, but it's integrated into the whole economy. That the retail and the health system, they are together. The market, let's say the market. See, when you don't survive because of a health system or because of a hospital, but you survive because of all the other things, plus the hospital itself. All the other things means that you have a way of getting food, going to the market to find food to buy, and then the market has to find a way of bringing food to present to you. And so when you're talking about in nutrition education, you have to involve the people involved in retail. Say, for example, the owners of supermarkets. So if you are teaching people of good nutrition and then you're not teaching the people at the supermarkets about that, then what does that mean? People in the hospital do not sell any food. You see, people working in the hospital, see even community health workers, they're actually never going to bring food to you. But who brings food to your table? Yourself, you go to the supermarket and buy, and you want people at the supermarket to be aware of the nutritious food. That is what's called integration. It's not just having this siloed people. One, I am my position, I'm in healthcare, so I don't care about what people do in the supermarkets. And soon after that, you go home, you're looking for food, you go to the supermarket. So why is it that the supermarket and the healthcare system cannot be integrated? And you see, the example you had is that Kagame is able to do those type of things. I'm very excited to report to you that Dolphin here, our own queen in the African women in DeFi, is working with Naivas for the same issue so that we can figure out how to integrate food nutrition that is coming on the supermarket shelves with the health outcomes of the people. So this is going to be unfolding over the next few months, and we want Naivas to come and do a very big workshop for African women in decentralized finance in Nairobi during the summit. And this when between now and December, we are going to dig deep and deep into this model of integration, which is happening in very many places where, and I've seen when integration is not there, people become extremely frustrated and they eventually do not go to the healthcare centers. Tell you an example, I was in Nigeria and they raise a lot of money because Nigeria has a lot of cash. They put up health centers in the communities, but they are very, very far from the market. That between the health center and the market, there is a whole 3 hours on foot if you're going to go on foot. If you're in a car, it's going to take you maybe about 30 or maybe 40 minutes. But then there's no roads because there's a lot of potholes. Okay. So where do people spend most of their time? Women spend most of their time in the marketplace selling their goods or even buying the daily needs for their families. So if you put the health center 3 hours away on foot, or even 1 hour away, even if it's 50 minutes, and then when you go to that health center, you would have to spend the whole day there to get the clinical services. So women spontaneously or intuitively go to the market and then they never go to the health center. So the health center becomes like these ghost towns where there is nobody. And these are health buildings that are very beautiful, done modern architecture, but they are abandoned because they are not where the people are. So if they had thought about integration, they would have put that health center right in the marketplace, inside the market, because you don't want the mother to spend all the hours out there going to look for healthcare, and then she has no food for the children. See? So that is a disaster when we fail to integrate. But then integration means that we come and create what's called the new type of system, which we are going to introduce throughout the country in Kenya, whereby the marketplace, see a place like Naivas or supermarket, you can also receive the basic primary clinical services. Okay, you can get vaccines at a supermarket. Does that sound so weird? Yeah, you just need to create a room, a space there, because people are going to go to supermarkets, whether you like it or not. But they're not going to go to hospital because people would rather not go to hospital. But what if you put a vaccine place for just giving mothers vaccine when they come to the supermarket? We can also, swing by and get vaccines and then go on shopping. Now that is a conversation that we want to enter with the supermarket owners. Of course, we want them to run the workshop, because the workshop itself, on all the workshops they're going to have, are going to be grounded on what we call the creative process at the summit. And you guys are going to experience this creative process. It's supremely amazing, and because it's going to work very, very well. So the final thing is what brings all that together. What brings all those things together? Because in terms of funding is what brings all these things together. And what Rod teachers told us that we can experiment on public-private partnerships, like what Gavi Alliance is doing, or community participation, or getting funding through grants. But the only way that works is community participation in funding. Gavi is an outsider. Gavi is based out here in New York City. It's called Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiatives. So Global Alliance, these are rich companies. We are talking about the big 5 pharmaceutical industries ganging up together to figure out how they can distribute their medicines to the world, but all the vaccines. So these guys have got the upper hand. It has nothing to do with the humans on the ground. Okay, but then to make the vaccines penetrate, they can have after the fact inclusion of the communities. So the human beings enter into such an alliance post hoc, after the fact. So you want the human beings to come from the outset during the pre-implementation evaluation to find the real needs of people. And I'm not saying that what Gavi is doing is bad, because we don't manufacture our own vaccines. but there's a lot of other things, including balanced nutrition, that say Gavi will not provide for us food. So community participation, and you see Gavi is doing that because Gavi already they have, it's an alliance of a few very profitable companies. But try to do that type of alliance with people without money, then you find that's not going to be happening. And because such an alliance, those highly profitable companies, would say like the big 5 pharmaceutical industries, they have a big sway in terms of the global politics, including they get allocations through the US government, and that because they are actually very, very powerful. It's known as the vaccine, the pharmaceutical lobby. So do we have money? Let's say that. And this is not any money that's coming from any member of the community. It's money that's coming from there. Just big power to move the pharmaceutical lobby, getting the money on their behalf from the people, from the central kitty. Now, so we are moving that. We want to decentralize. You see, that's a very highly centralized process in the decentralized finance. And that's why we are talking here, African women in decentralized finance. How do we solve that problem? Because that's a very, very huge problem, where we have an illusion of community engagement, but there is no community engagement as such. It's an illusion. The community engagement that is indicated is an after the fact, is a post hoc community engagement. So post hoc means it's something that's happening after everything is said and done. Oh, we have raised all the money, now how do we go and engage the community? No. What we are talking about is a community engagement a priori, before the fact. Before the fact. That means the community is at the root of the implementation, not at the leaves of the implementation. So I'm going to state this again so you understand. I want you to see the picture of a tree. The tree has got roots, it has got a trunk, stems, it's got branches and leaves. Okay, that's the anatomy of a tree, the gross features of a tree. Roots, trunk, stems, branches, and what? And leaves. Post hoc community engagement is like leaves. Leaves come after the fact. That the tree does not grow leaves first and then everything else. No. But what a tree does, before it becomes a tree, it is a seed. And a seed develops what's called a taproot. The taproot projects downwards and goes in the ground, and that's what grounds that tree. Okay? So a priori community engagement is grounded. Okay, I want you to understand this concept of grounding community engagement, so that when you're going, what you're going to be seeing is grounded community engagement. It is in the roots of the tree itself. Then the tree stems out, shoots out, grows into a trunk, and then it pushes out branches. And the branches now are going to produce leaves. Leaves are necessary. I'm not saying the trees can survive without leaves. Leaves are good, but leaves are post hoc. They are after the fact. Okay, so in terms of evaluation, you want to understand how you can evaluate a priori at the roots of the implementation. Before even the tree becomes a root, it is already a seed, the seed stage. That's what we talked about, pre-implementation evaluation. And the only technology that's able to get us there is called Actuate token. I'm not kidding. I'm not even lying to you. This is not Gaia. Actuate token or any other token that's on the blockchain. So let me say, tokens on the blockchain are the only technologies that can get you at the roots of any project, so that you can begin with them at the pre-implementation stage. So, indeed, now I know you've got 1,002 questions. Why is it possible? Why is it that, as I said, those traditional projects are like leaves of a tree. They're out there, they're after the fact, post hoc, a priori, posterior, they are a posteriori. That means the post hoc type of projects. And the evaluation is after the fact, but they are not at the root of the community engagement. The only technology that can give you access to the root of the community engagement that we're talking about, grounded community engagement, is tokens on the blockchain. Why? Because tokens are very easy to manage. You can distribute them to every single member of the communities, like what we are doing today. Ahead of time, a priori. Like now today, after this lesson, you are going to receive Actuate tokens. Now, if you want to know what's going on, is that you're participating in a pre-implementation evaluation. Yeah, which was not possible. It wasn't possible at all in any time of history of mankind in the traditional finance. So traditional finance is an after the fact type of things. Now today we are doing this before the fact, before you even know what's going to happen, and we are able to gather together here thanks to Actuate token, and Actuate token becomes the stickiness factor that leads you to the ground of every project at the very, very roots of the project. Then when the project germinates, as this is going to be germinating over the next several months, even the next year, it germinates with you inside it. Okay? It germinates with you inside. So your idea, whatever you have, is included from the word go. Okay? Okay? Okay. Now do you understand the grounded nature of this type of community engagement? That's what it is. And so many people have tried to use these tokens differently. Some people do things called airdrops. It's the same thing. Doing airdrops is to find how to ground their project in a implementation evaluation mode. Now we have chosen to do learn to earn session as a model for the pre-implementation evaluation, because as I told you, evaluation is continuous quality improvement. You are learning by doing as we go, learning by doing. So you can see then that the performance of the project will now eventually be displayed not only in the project, the basic project dashboard, as you've seen, was going to be showing up in CoinGecko. Can you believe that? Yeah. So the ultimate evaluation becomes the token itself and its movements in the CoinGecko. So when people are calculating the 200 days moving average or the 20 days moving average, when people are calculating liquidity pools and things like that, you'll be now evaluating the performance of the project, but at a very tertiary level. So the token becomes, well, is it even tertiary? I don't even know whether it's tertiary, or maybe it's a very, very fundamental level. Very fundamental is opposite of tertiary. It's ground level, because the token is what gives you the grounding of the community engagement. So that's what I want to understand. So Actuate token is a technology for grounded community engagement. I want you to write this. So in case anybody asks you this question, what is Actuate token in relation to implementation evaluation? See, Actuate token is the technology for grounded community engagement. Okay, Actuate token is a technology for grounded community engagement, and helps us to now redress this thing to come from what you are doing after the fact and going around saying that we are evaluating. These are the posteriori, the after the fact type of evaluation, to before the facts at the grounded level of information. Now, for all those people who want to know about grounded theory, because this is what's called grounded theory, you can read the works on grounded theory and find out what it's all about. And this is for you because it's really important, very powerful. The grounded theory And grounded theory means that whatever you bring out of that idea, whatever you're doing, whatever you evaluate, whatever comes out, it is relevant, it has got fits, and it's got working condition. It relevance and fits the community. So community engagement that's not grounded is not fit, it's irrelevant, it gives you data coming from outside. And that brings things called fixes that fail. And we want to depart from fixing things and then they fail again, and then we fix them again, fixing because you're fixing them after the fact. It's like trying to grow a tree without roots. Where did that happen ever anyway? But we do it all the time. So trying to create, to say that I'm going to have a forest of trees, but these trees have no roots because they are not grounded. Yeah, no, it can't happen. So the primary technology for grounding is known as Actuate token. All right, back to you, our queen in African Union DeFi. Thank you so much for all this work you're doing. It's really amazing. Now, I think what we are going to say that Dolphin Akinyi is the queen of integrated learning because she's pulling all this integration for us together. How about that, Dolphin? This being the last lesson.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Very powerful. Now you see, you have taught us grounding through integration, and integration is like integrating projects. You see, the roots of a tree is where the integration happens. Because after everything is said and done, the stem and the branches, they're out there. They will not even survive without roots. So roots is a center point for integration. And that the root is on the ground, is grounded. And then you're saying our primary technology for grounding is what? The actual token itself. And this is why I'm saying for all of you who are here and those who are not here, maybe they'll be watching this on YouTube and elsewhere. Amass those actual tokens because the demand is going to rise like what? Like a moonshot, like shooting to the moon. All right. So you can see. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And back to you, Dalton.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Arif, for that wonderful words of wisdom and knowledge regarding the topic on evaluating impact on public goods funding for women and One Health. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, at least you have expanded our knowledge today regarding that topic. Thank you so much. So if you have any question or additional comments you'd like to add, feel free to use our chat box below, or you may raise your hand. Yeah, so any question, I welcome any question or any comments. Okay, meanwhile, as you're preparing your question, I'd like to invite Diana Mondi to give us the presentation on Actuate Nairobi Summit. Diana, you are welcome. Okay, yeah, I can't see Diana. Okay, Doctor, do you have anything to say regarding the summit or sponsorship challenge?
Yes, I've got a lot of things to say, but I'll say only one.
Okay.
So I'll say one thing. I have got tons of things. So about the summit, as you have heard, the summit is gaining momentum at an inexorable pace, which is called hurtling through the space. That means moving at 300 kilometers, 300,000 kilometers per second. So Dolphin, what substance, what object in this world moves at 300,000 kilometers per second? Let's ask, that is for people in physics science. Let's ask Frida. Frida, What is it that moves at 300,000 kilometers per second? It's Frida here.
Lights.
Light. What in light moves what is light? What in light moves at 300,000 kilometers per second?
Photons.
Yes, the particle of light is called a photon. So Frida knows this. Thank you, Frida, for that high science. By the way, this is something that you all must know, because we wouldn't be talking today if it was not for light. Those photons, which are particles of light, according to Albert Einstein, they are like small matatus, very, very tiny matatus that we load with information. The information that is being transmitted to you right now is loaded on a matatu that is moving at 300,000 kilometers per second. Can you imagine that? Who did that? Who even imagined that? You don't even know. Yes. So what is information then? And how do you load it? Because information is not a full thing like 70 kilo human being. It is, does it have weight? Yeah. How does it do it? But those are deep conversations. But what you want to know is that we're now able to load information on a photon of light, and then we transport it across the planet. And through two technologies, one of them is called fiber optic. Fiber optic is that glass, very clear glass that is being laid down in the ocean. Yeah, called submarine cable that is circulating around the world, tying Africa like a necklace. And then it shows up in the port of Mombasa and brings that information to you. Then when the information comes to you, it gets inside the air and becomes wireless, gets into your phone. And because it is wireless, what is bringing it from your modem into your phone is also those photons of light. So that's amazing. I wanted to tell you that so that we can, first of all, just remember the power that's happening. And this Actuate token we just talked about, the Actuate token is a technology of light. So I just want you to understand that Actuate token is a technology of light. Because of that speed of motion, 300,000 kilometers per second, is why the Actuate token can get into the roots of everything you're doing. The root of that has never been possible with any physical substance like those Kenya shillings or banknotes. Never possible. Yes, so that's it. So our summit is moving at the same speed because, as you see, Actuate itself is built on photons. We don't have physical buildings. We don't need them because the building itself is a photon. And so when you're communicating here, mobilizing people, we are putting our communication information on the photons themselves. That's what I'm saying. The summit is happening at very high speed. And as you've heard, we are going to have a workshop on women where we have invited and have agreed Naivas as a retailer to come and lead that workshop. Why should Naivas lead a workshop in health? We just talked about it. Integration, like what Kagame is doing in Rwanda. Unless we understand that, then we are doomed. You know, people who do retail, they are the primary technology for integration of your life. Because after everything is said and done, you have to go to the market and look for food. Yeah, to feed your family, to cook supper. You have to go to the market and buy things to eat. And not only do you buy things to eat, you buy things to keep yourself happy, healthy. Some people go there and buy alcohol in the liquor store when that is extreme. But then before even buying alcohol, you buy almost everything from the market. So the market becomes this center point of integration. the anchorage of integration. So that's why we want neighbors. We've given them the opportunities to lead our summit. And you see, the supermarket like that, as you have understood, in Kenya, our markets, we call them soko mjinga for a good reason. Because we practice stupidity when you get into the market. People who are selling things, they try to reduce the quantity of things they're selling you by using a lot of different chicanery, call them chicanery, like chickens. Well, if you have a debe, you have seen debes, it's metallic debes, people clobber them on the side so they can reduce the volume of the quantity that they can contain. Yeah. So if you're buying beans, you find the debe for measuring beans, the metallic debe has been beaten up. If it's plastic, like kasuku type of containers, they are going to do some things inside them so they can reduce the volume inside that can contain. All that is what is called ujinga business in English. Soko mjinga. So supermarkets like Naivas takes the ujinga out of soko, right? They take ujinga out of soko. When people are practicing that ujinga, or they bring ujinga to the soko, who suffers? It's the woman, but she goes shopping. She goes shopping thinking that she's getting the full value of what she's paying for. But then all these machinations of the chicanery, the people trying to practice a lot of ujinga, they make sure they're trying their best to make sure that she does not get the value of the money she is paying. Supermarkets like Naivas take that ujinga out of the way. Because you're not going to go to Naivas and find that they have beaten up their debes on the side, or they have modified their kasuku to contain less quantity. If Naivas says the kasuku is 2 kilos, it's going to be 2 kilos. Or if it says it's 250 grams, it's going to be 250 grams. So, ujinga out, supermarkets in, and we work with them. Now, the other side of soko mjinga is when now people themselves who are selling, now we're talking about the ujinga in the buyers. People who are selling, when they come to sell products in the supermarket, or they not the supermarket, they sell them in soko mjinga, is that they have to quote a price, and the customer's job is to quote the lowest price on earth, even ridiculous type of prices. For example, if you go to the market, you hear someone saying, "Oh, my bananas, my potatoes are for $100." No, shillings, not dollars. 100 shillings. Then a customer says, "I'll pay you 20." How does it come from 100 to 20? Now, can you imagine? Now you have been growing your potato, doing a lot of work on them, and then somebody tells you they're going to pay 20 when you know that with 20 you cannot make it. So it becomes very, very, very tedious work, very hard, and very painful for people to sell things. A lot of people in Kenya, in Africa in general, are highly discouraged by that process. It's called hiring or bargaining. Some people are very good at it, but those are very, very few. Majority of the people would rather not take their things to the market because they don't want to be told that your goat, which you love so much, can only be bought for 500 shillings. And this goat has been eating, it has been foraging, you have been feeding it the best thing, and then you think it's going to look good. But then someone tells you, "Oh, huyu kodoo wako ni wa 500 tu." Nonsense. Now that's what's called ujinga. Now supermarkets can help make that go away, but they are not doing a good job yet in that regard. A lot of people, we are told that in Kenya, we have more than 80% post-harvest loss. That loss happens because people do not know what to do with their produce, because they would rather not take them to the market than be insulted by the market, by soko ujinga. That ujinga soko is very insulting. It's an aggression. When somebody tells you that the price they're going to buy your goat for 500 shillings, or they're going to buy your milk, your gallon of milk for so many shillings, you feel aggressed. It's an aggression. And so people just stay back and give up and let. But you see, supermarkets will help to remove that aggression. And a lot of people who are relying, when we say growing things and cannot sell them, they are losing. It's called post-harvest loss, with fight market. So we want to work with neighbors, similar supermarkets, and find out how they can expand their offerings or their you could say their shelf space, expand their shelf space to as many local women as possible. See? And this is why we want them to lead that work. And we're going to work with the beginning today, this month coming September, to figure out how that is going to happen. And this is not just neighbors, all the supermarket owners. We want them to encourage them to understand this, because we would like a supermarket in every village. And that is what's going to bring Ujinga out of Soko. So I've told you that. Now you see, you is a denizen of faithful act, a citizen of Actuate Nation. You have a lot of things you can talk about. That what we have talked about integration today. You can explore that, dive deep in even what we have talked about post-implementation evaluation today. What we have said about the 3 levels of evaluation, the pre-implementation, the implementation, and post-implementation, and all the metrics, and to how you can flip, we must flip the evaluation from evaluating the dead, okay, to evaluating the living. Because it is written, why do you look for the living among the dead? Who wrote that statement? Maybe we can ask one of the Astute, Lillian. Who asked that question? Why do you look for the living among the dead? Is Lillian here? Well, Lillian was there somewhere. But Rita, do you know who said that question? Why did you look for the living among the dead? Or let us, Grace. Hi, Grace. Grace Jerry.
Yes, no.
Who asked the question, why do you look for the living among the dead?
Sorry?
Who asked the question, why do you look for the living among the dead? Ever heard that question?
Yeah.
Who did that?
I can't remember who.
Jesus Christ himself. You know, after looking for the living among the dead is what we talk about today, evaluating mortality. How many people have died? How many babies have died? They are already dead. But we should look for the living, because I think in this post hoc type of philosophy or attitude or orientation of mind, we are so happy about counting the dead ones instead of looking for the living. I think that's where we miss the point. So anyway, you I'd like to ask you to go and read more what Jesus Christ was meaning by saying, why do you look for the living among the dead? Because it is not in the dead that you have the information. When you're talking about these metrics for evaluation, when you look at all the recommended metrics, they are the metrics for the dead. And we are looking that to gain information about the living, question mark. So I'm now talking about the posters, okay? When you make a poster, come with that attitude. And of course, you want to make a poster about the evaluation that we have done what we have talked about today, and see how can you design an evaluation for looking for the living instead of the dead. Okay, the evaluation for the living. and we depart from the idea of the looking for the living among the dead, because the living are not among the dead. Right? Right? These are very profound statements, but they are written in the Holy Scriptures. So I'd also encourage you guys to keep reading the Holy Scriptures, because they have a lot of answers to a lot of questions that bother us is the mere mortals. Of course, Jesus Christ was God, always God. You see? So we are not expected to have all that knowledge, but we can read what he was saying. You know, when he was walking up and down in the plains of Galilee. Yes, that's him without guile, can tell you. So make a poster about evaluating the living, and that'd be very, very good. And that poster is like to win. And in fact, in that poster, you want to illustrate how the Actuate token itself, or any token, it's a token on the blockchain crypto, but of course, because you're in Actuate, you see, Actuate token is a technology for grounded evaluation. Okay? Or the Actuate token is a technology for community engagement. Because Actuate token is a technology for grounded community engagement. Without Actuate token, and if you do that, then you have a grounded project, and that means that's an award-winning poster. If you pick a poster based on the old knowledge where we're looking for the living among the dead, then of course you see that does not cut the mark. New science of light, because we are saying that Actuate token itself is traveling at the speed of light. So that's what and you can see now, then if you can do that, and also make a poster, because you also want neighbors to recognize your work, about how the retail system is a primary platform. The retail network, the retail system, like Naivas itself, is the primary platform for what? For what is it would have said about here? For women empowerment. Women, and we're talking about women, all that stuff women do, cooking, cleaning, taking care of themselves, taking care of household. It cannot happen without a retail marketplace like Naivas. So Naivas is the backbone on which women stand, so that they can do what? So that they can raise up their hands and hold the entire sky, so the sky does not collapse upon us. It is because of the retail people like Naivas. Okay, make a poster about that as well. And you can see now this connects you to the people in the market, and they understand how you connect with them. So what I have said is that retail people like Naivas are the backbone on which women stand, in order for them to hold up the arms, to hold up the sky. And as we have said, and what we believe here in Actuate Nation, is women hold the entire sky. So why the sky is not falling upon us? Because women are holding it up for us, preventing that catastrophic moment, which when women do not have they don't know somewhere to stand to hold up the sky comes crumbling down. So that's another poster idea. So we're inviting you to create posters like that. And then when you bring such a poster to the summit, you will see for yourself that a lot of people be very fascinated. Even all the retailers will come and say, wow, you have done for us a great thing for explaining to us. Explain to us what we are doing, that the essence of retail. Essence of retail is to operate as the backbone that is holding the women, so that women can hold up the sky for all of us. See? And so then when you're talking about implementation and evaluation, you can see even community engagement the retail network or the retail system or the market itself. The market is the retail. The retail market is the primary pathway to community engagement. Because in terms of integrated health system, you want to use the retail network to reach women in the communities. See, these are great ideas for poster. Do not let these ideas go to waste. If we don't see a poster like this, we shall say all that was going to waste. But since you are not of them that draws back to foundation, you are not the kind of people who throw away great ideas. You are not going to throw away any great idea. So you're going to come and shine. You're going to enter into that photon and move at 300 kilometers per second because you're one of them that moves like that. Okay. Well, that's what I would like to add about that. That's the one thing I wanted to add about the summit. And I want to tell you, all of you, that the summit now is doing very well, hustling at very high speed, gaining very serious momentum, and people are very, very excited. If you don't feel that excitement, it's because you are switched off. Okay, you want to switch on that light. Boom, the light comes in. So that's what it is. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dolphin.
Okay, thank you, Dr. for that. And also, if you have a question on regarding the summit or you'd like to know how to go about it, kindly feel free to ask, or you can send it on our WhatsApp main group, Actuate Nation, or you can find any of the team members and they will be able to guide you. So if there's no any question or any additional comments, I think I'll just do the final remarks. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Yeah, I'd like first to thank our topic master, Matthew. Thank you for doing research on today's topic. And I would also like to thank our own CEO of Actuate Biomedicine, Dr. Macharia Rungi, for taking his time being here, and also for his words of wisdom, and also for giving us his knowledge by free. Yani, we are receiving so much, Daktari. We really appreciate you so much. And I would also like to thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much for taking your time, yeah, for being here and yeah, learning with us. So thank you so much. Yeah, so join us next Tuesday as we will be discussing future prospect and innovation in public goods funding for women and One Health. Yeah, this topic will be led by Faith. Yeah, join us. This will be our 8th session of Code 3. So everyone is welcome. I have just posted the form to the link to the attendance form. I'll just give you 5 minutes to fill, then I'll close the form. So thank you everyone once again, and yeah, with that the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye
See
bye.
you next Tuesday. Bye.